My name's Jerry Tindall. I own PatchPro Drywall. Yeah, so our company has moisture in kind of two different ways. So we have moisture coming from an external source that's damaging the drywall, and then we have moisture that's coming from us applying mud and needing it to be dry before we can go to our next step. So for us, anything from roof leaks, showers, plumbing leaks in the walls, bathtubs overflowing, all of those things cause moisture, and we've got to go in and figure out where's it coming from and what's the extent of the damage that's there. And then we need to know our drywall's dry so we can sand and coat and keep moving through the process. So we're affected a lot by moisture and even relative humidity in the homes. So when we're in a home and we're working, humidity comes into play when we're trying to get something to dry so we can move to the next step. The more humidity and moisture in the home, the slower that mud's gonna dry and be ready for the next step. So we come in and we check the humidity right out of the day, or we even look at air humidity outside and say, what kind of day are we gonna have? Are we gonna be able to get in and out in 4 hours, or is it gonna take 2 full days to dry? We can use the same product and see that kind of dry difference. The humidity, if there is a leak that we don't know about somewhere else and it's causing more moisture in the air, our stuff doesn't dry as well. And so we kind of fight humidity on those levels. So we use moisture meters in the 2 cases we mentioned. One, if we have a homeowner call us in and say, we have damaged drywall from a leak. Well, before we can cut open that job and go to fixing it, we need to be able to give an estimate of how big is this gonna be. So we'll check the humidity and moisture all around that area and then say, we're anticipating this to be a 4x4 section, or we keep chasing it and it's really coming from somewhere totally different and ran all the way down, so it's a larger ceiling affected. And we're gonna give them an idea before we even touch the job of how big we think it's been affected. Sometimes we'll use a moisture meter to pinpoint the source of the leak. So we might have damage here, but the leak can be in a wall behind another side. So we chase how far that wet drywall is, and we anticipate where that leak might be coming from before we begin the work. The other time we'll use it is just to find out if we can go to the next step. So we'll send someone in to just check moisture on the walls and tell us, okay, yeah, we can go in and sand and recoat and move on. And so both of those are ways that we measure, but we really like being able to chase things and give customers answers before we even open up walls. We can be very accurate. So when we're using our moisture meters, we're not looking for maybe down to the tenths and really tight measurements like some industries might. We will use a moisture meter we'll get a baseline. So we'll go through the home and we'll check 5 or 6 walls, ceilings, floors, things that we know are not affected by water, or they're not in question during this inspection, and we'll get a baseline. And then we're say the moisture meter is coming in at 16%, which some houses do have a lot more moisture, and so you could be alarmed if you just put a moisture meter up and it's registering moisture. Oh no, I got a problem. But if you go through the house and you check everything, you can have a relatively high moisture reading on a normal home. So then we'll use that baseline to then go check the areas of concern, and if they're out of range or out of the average that we've been testing, we know we're headed towards some kind of problem. Yeah, moisture meters typically have like a wood and a drywall setting, and drywall can be everywhere, right? We can be in concrete type plaster drywall, we can be in regular drywall, we can be in very thick and dense drywall. So there's a lot of different surfaces we're gonna read, and using just the drywall setting in the meter could give you very different moisture readings. So a lot of what we're looking to do is find out a baseline in that home of that product. So what's standard and okay in that home? And we'll get 5 or 6 measurements of that product, and then we'll check it against what we're finding. And that takes away the discrepancy between drywall and maybe a plaster surface or a wallpaper surface. You get all different kinds of stuff that you need to just double check the average reading right now. So when we're taking our reading and trying to decide between what I would call like an interior environmental moisture and then maybe something coming from an outside affected issue. An example was we got called in on a ceiling crack that had been fixed 3 times. It was right on the edge of the wall on the ceiling. 2 other professionals were the ones that had fixed it. And I came in and it just didn't seem right to me. And I said, I think there's moisture going on here. And she said, no, we've had all the roof leaks fixed. Everything's been fixed. What happened is they lived with this hole open for a significant amount of time, and there's a moisture barrier between the drywall and the insulation. And it was right off their kitchen. They had been cooking and the condensation was piling up on that plastic, causing it to still be wet. So we opened it up, checked the moisture meter to make sure there was nothing beyond the vapor barrier, and that told us that all that moisture was coming from relative humidity inside, but gathering at that point where the cold air was meeting it. And so sometimes we've got to do some extra homework and ask a lot of questions to find out, has this hole been opened up for a long time and it's taking home moisture, or is there another problem coming on it?